Welcome back. The United Nations is warning that humanitarian situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's the DRC, has reached breaking point after 3 years of decline. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, says the violence worsened in 2017 in the Kasai region, with children being the most vulnerable. The IOM warns that of the $75 million appeal it launched to provide aid in the DRC, it had so far received $3.5 million only.
People have been displaced so often in the Kasai, they've missed now 3 planting seasons. And if you don't provide that kind of food assistance now to kind of bridge that gap, people who've been living off foraging in the forest, they will suffer. And the most vulnerable will die first, and the children will die first. And that's a fact. That's a fact, and that's something that we need to recognize and accept, and we need our international community basically to step up to that challenge. According to OCHA and the Humanitarian Response Plan, which will be launched tomorrow in Kinshasa, some 13.1 million people will need humanitarian assistance. That's 1 Congolese out of 7, and 10.5 million will need direct assistance, targeted assistance. That's double the number from 2017. What you have in Eastern DRC is, as I said, a myriad, estimated around 70 different armed groups, whether they're Mai Mai and Banyamuha, and they all have different names, and they all kind of morph and change and shifting alliances. But what we hear is that whilst initially some of these armed groups were in it for themselves, in other words, they would raid a village and they would pillage, rape, and burn and scorch the earth, it seems now that they have more of a political agenda.
Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, is also renewing its warnings of a humanitarian crisis, this time in the Central African Republic. As increase in violence worsens, the living conditions are rapidly deteriorating, with half of the population in need of urgent aid. On a visit to the country this week, ICRC President Peter Maurer called for the international community to do more, saying that the crisis remains largely underfunded.
The president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Peter Maurer, has called on the international community to renew efforts to deal with the humanitarian crisis in the Central African Republic, which has been plagued by conflict since 2013. Maurer is currently visiting the conflict-ravaged country, where 1 in 5 Central Africans is currently displaced, and around 2.2 million people, and that's around half the population, need humanitarian assistance.
This visit comes at a time and in a country where more than 30% of the population is displaced. More than half of the population needs humanitarian assistance. It's also a country that does not appear in the news every day or weeks on the international political or diplomatic agenda, or make it in international news.
Violence has escalated in the CAR since the former colonial power France ended its peacekeeping mission last year, despite the election in March 2016, which raised hopes of reconciliation. Fighting in the country has flared since May last year, with the northwest and southeast of the country being the worst hit. The fighting has also forced aid workers to pull out of the country, leaving many vulnerable people without assistance.
I want to bring the international community's attention to what's happening here, and I want them to pay increased attention to those who are suffering and have been impacted by violence, and address their needs, not only material needs, but psychological as well.
The city of Power, situated near the border of Chad in the north, is the latest to report massive arrivals of displaced people and calls for humanitarian assistance.
In Cameroon, a charity group, the Africa Mercy Ship, is offering life-changing surgical services for the first time in the coastal city of Douala. The hospital ship has been docked at the port since last year, and doctors say they want to perform close to 4,000 free surgeries over a period of 10 months. The Mercy ships also work to help improve healthcare services in the country through training and mentoring.
Sally and his mother, Harira, are on their way to see a doctor at a free medical camp in Cameroon's port city, Douala. The 7-year-old born with a cleft lip is one of over 3,000 patients who will be receiving surgical treatment on board the Africa Mercy ship, one of the world's largest charity floating hospitals.
Whenever
Sally goes to school, his friends come around and make fun of him. It hurts him because they keep calling him the boy with an exposed tooth. He's so conscious about it that he covers his mouth with his hands when walking.
With about 82 beds, Africa Mercy, a former Danish rail ferry converted into a state-of-the-art hospital ship, is on a mission to provide free healthcare and services to the poor in parts of the world. The professionals, made up of volunteer doctors, nurses, surgeons and other crew, will spend 10 months in Douala providing free healthcare services.
We're looking for those patients that have very severe deformities and which are very disfiguring, like in the maxillofacial surgical realm. We think about those big orofacial tumors that can be very life-threatening and that are very complex surgeries that require very specialized knowledge and competency from surgeons. So that's a big one. But it's also very much need-driven, like the obstetric fistula. In Cameroon, estimates say there are between 20,000 and 30,000 ladies that require that surgery. So of course, we want to treat as many as we can.
According to the Cameroon Medical Council, the doctor-patient ratio in the West African country is 1 to 40,000. The Mercy Ship's program includes training courses for local doctors and other healthcare workers, as well as mentorship programs. Mercy Ships has treated over 2.56 million people since 1978, when it was created.
That's a good cause indeed. Well, that's Network Africa today. Thank you for watching. I'm Jokia Rogers.